Now with the roll call.
Okay. Borough President Eric Adams' office, Candace Julian.
Present.
David Alexander.
Present.
From Jeffrey Aubrey's office, Lisa Manuel.
Yeah.
From Gail Brewer's office, Jessica Mates.
Here.
Vicky Camarado Cordo, Victoria, sorry. Monty Castaneda is excused. Harold Miller from the mayor's office.
Here.
Jackie DeLeon. Monica Major from Ruben Diaz. Rosalind Johnville from Councilmember Eugene Matthew. Eugene. Francisco Feliz. Helen Foreman Hines. Helene Hartman Kanowski, excused. Itchy Heschel.
Good evening.
Barbara Sherman or Umar Khan from Letitia James' office. Jessica Ackerman from Speakers. Rita Jones. Susie Tannenbaum from Linda Katz. Andy King's office. Wayne King. Roy Gamber.
Sure.
Gideon Dunkley, Morse Heights.
Here.
Joe Gagliardo, excused. Joseph Pierre from...
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are. Oops. Okay. Lachey Young from James Odo.
Here.
Vasmati Patel.
I'm here.
Taj Baring from Bill Perkins.
Yeah.
Sorry, right here. Victor Reyes. Tamika Robinson.
Here.
Christian Rodriguez. Edwina Martin and Lisa Thompson from Debbie Road. Dahlia Soto. Marilyn, no. This is blank. Jesus. Oh, that's Anderson. Anderson, we will note your presence, but we can't count your quorum. All righty. Who's from St. Francis? From St. Francis College? No? Okay. Derek Tate?
Here.
Ariel Saransky from UJA?
Here.
Gregory Brender from UNH?
Here.
Janet DeBush?
Here.
Yes. Yes. Linda Walters? Okay. And then Peter Weiss is excused. Okay, so.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to the meeting. Sorry we started a little bit late. We don't have quorum, but I do believe we have one member coming in. So that will make quorum. So let's start. First off, I thank everybody for accommodating the change in the schedule. We tried to schedule around all of the holidays and religious observances, but a couple of the members realized that the last meeting was scheduled in conflict with the religious observance, and we want to respect every religious observance, so we wanted to change the meeting to accommodate that. So thank you for being patient with that change and accommodating that change. While the other member is coming in, we're good. All right, so we do have quorum, so we can officially start our meeting. First, in terms of CAB administration, you all have the minutes from the previous meeting. Hopefully you did have a chance to review them. Unless there are any other questions or objections to the minutes, I will entertain a motion now to accept the minutes. Please remember to state your name for the record. It's been properly moved by Itchy Heschel,
Second by Tamika Robinson.
Seconded by Tamika Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those abstaining, there being none, so moved. Thank you for that. We do have one recognition to add as a member of the CAB, Claudia Koger, Region 16, Queens NDA 1, 2, and 5. Claudia is here, right?
Here.
Nice to meet you, Claudia. Anything you want to say to address the board, first of all?
Just to,
Hold on. Can you pass this mic to her, please? Thank you.
Just to say I acknowledge and I'm honored to be accepted to this board. I'm a trailblazer and put many, many years in providing in the community and supplying for the young people. I am the parent of 7 children that grew up in Queens, and parent of about 12. And I can't tell you how many great. I have one great-grand that was born yesterday. So it's nothing new to me to be just connected to young people. And it's one of my goals is to work to see that they have the best that they can in their life in order to achieve their goals. That's life. And thank you so much for accepting.
Thank you. Congratulations to the new addition to your family. I'll entertain a motion now to recognize Claudia Koger as a member of the CAB.
So moved.
Been properly moved by Joseph Pierre,
Second, David Alexander.
seconded by David Alexander. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstaining, there being none, so moved. Thank you and welcome to the CAB. Next up, we're happy to have Commissioner Chong here to be present at the meeting, so at this time I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Thank you. I want to first of all thank Greg for his leadership of this body, and thank all of you for your years of service to the CAB. I mean, this is a program that, as many of you know, goes back to the War on Poverty, led by Lyndon Johnson in the 1960s. And the unfortunate thing, I was talking to my father earlier before the meeting. I asked him, when was the last time the actual law was reauthorized? And it stunned me. 1996. So, you know, the federal government has walked away from this initiative, but many of you are still in the trenches, you know, making it work, fighting the good fight. And it's important because, you know, hopefully at some point we'll get a federal government that will be supportive of this initiative. But I think we're maximizing what we're doing with the resources we have. I came today for several reasons. One is I wanted to acknowledge the hard work of the staff, of Commissioner Gutierrez, of my father, of Joe, of Greg. Because many might know, we got a perfect score in our annual evaluation by the State Department of State. First time. And you know, it's not the thing that's going to get written up in the New York Times, or for that matter, the New York Post. But it's important because it speaks to the hard work of everyone. And you know, including the CAB, because one of the things that the state looked at was how the CAB functioned, and the fact that I think they came in a report on a site visit, right? Yep. So I think we should share in that success because perfect doesn't happen often. The second reason I wanted to come tonight, especially, was this is Joe Petrobone's last meeting. He is retiring after 26 years of service. You know, Joe should say a few words later. You know, he's been with DYCD for 13 years, and when I first came here in 2003, he was here. I think were you here, right? 2003? 2005. Okay. But he's been an institution to the Community Development Division. So it's hard for me to imagine what it would be like without Joe. He's been the institution of memory. He knows the issues, and so he'll have difficult shoes to fill when he moved on, and June 1st, right? June 1st, right? That's his last day. But I wanted to, at least publicly acknowledge his contributions, because, sometimes, people make these huge contributions and they're never acknowledged. And, for 26 years, to be working for the city during, how many mayors is that? Is that 4 mayors? Yeah, 4 mayors. So I wanted to say thank you to Joe. And I wanted to use this opportunity to kind of check in as we begin the second term of what are the key things that DYCD will be focusing on. I mean, I told the staff this a few months ago, that we saw, because of the mayor's support, exponential growth of our budget. Most of the growth has been city funding. So our budget more than doubled from the last year of the Bloomberg administration to what it is now. It's about $840 million. And more importantly, most of the money is what's called baseline. It's not like money that the council has to add on every year. Because at one point, not too long ago, half our budget depended on the city council to restore. Those days are behind us. So we have a once-in-a-life opportunity to really begin to strengthen the programs and deepen the impact in communities, and really focus on strong community building. And so one of the things that we started laying the groundwork for the last few years, which you'll start seeing in the next month, well, next several months, is that what I call the settlement house strategy for DYCD. DYCD was basically 3 separate agencies that got pushed together. Youth Services, what was then called the Community Development Agency, which is what community development is today, and youth employment programs from the Department of Employment. And for many years, we functioned as 3 separate agencies, with 3 separate data systems, with 3 different approaches, with different standards for different programs. We had 9 programs that served young people between 16 and 24 among 4 assistant commissioners. The staff never talked. So on one hand, we provided services for homeless youth, residential services, but those programs never worked with the programs that help young people who are out of school and out of work. Again, we're moving towards one agency. We have a new data system that's rolling out in the next, this summer, and will go full force in September, called DYCD Connect. There'll be one data system where we can track young people and all participants. So if you come in one door, you can be connected to another program. Because we know from all the work we do that the more you work with people, the more diverse services you provide, the bigger the impact. So that's, in a nutshell, our sort of settlement house strategy. You'll be seeing more and more of it. Because as somebody who lived through 12 rounds of cuts in the Bloomberg administration, I know it's only a matter of time before there's a recession, whether it's in 2 years, 3 years. And so we have to storm-proof DYCD. We have to show that the sum is greater than its parts, that one program connects to another program and can have a big impact on the community. So that's part of my strategy, is sort of creating a sustainable organization that will have impact beyond we're in the 26th year of DYCD. We celebrate the 25th anniversary, which is the 27th year we're entering. The other thing that we're focusing on is strengthening youth voice in the programs. And so in your packet, you'll see a list of DYCD activities and events. This is event season for us. So if you are interested, there's different events. Many of them are targeting specific audiences. If you're interested in one event, you can speak to the CD staff and we can arrange to make sure you can go to an event that interests you. But one event that I want to draw our attention to is an event on May 12th. It's a Saturday at John Jay College. It's our second annual Young Citizens Center Conference. And basically, we mobilize young people from 900 different programs around the city to be involved in tackling issues and problems in their community. Because, we see it important to begin to lay the groundwork for the next generation of leaders. And so I'm trying to get the new deputy mayor, Phil Thompson, who oversees DYCD, to attend. Phil, I have known for 42 years. He and I met as young activists. I was 18, I think he was 19. And, for me, it's coming full circle to have started as a grassroots activist, as a teenager, and now I'm a commissioner, he's a deputy mayor, and so how do we lay the groundwork for the next generation of young people who are going to make change? And I think the recent events in Parkland show that young people can make a difference. They're a hell of a lot more sophisticated than the adults on social media. I mean, they have more followers on Twitter than the NRA. That is very powerful. And so I think it's incumbent on us, as we develop young people, that we develop their leadership skills. The second example of program integration and community building I want to point out to you is that there's a list of spring into health fairs that we started last year. The idea was to use our community centers, our beacons and cornerstones, to bring together other city agencies so that people who work 9 to 5 can come and learn about services that the health department might have, or the health and hospitals, or the parks department. So we went from 6 fairs last April to 34 this year. In many communities, in fact, the first one was last night. I'm going this Saturday to the one at Hunts Point. And if there's one in your neighborhood that you want to go to, those are open to the public. It's a chance to see this strategy and how it plays out on the ground. Because all too often, government does, the left hand and the right hand don't work together. So we bring an important resource to many cities. We have a footprint in many neighborhoods. We have programs that operate at night on weekends. And so we want to make sure that average New Yorkers can access all the different services that city agencies offer. There are other things I can talk about. I'd be happy to take some questions. But while I would welcome more money, I'm also a realist that I know that we're not going to double again. And so let's do the best job with what we have now so we can have lasting impact so that next time there are bad times, they'll skip DYCD. I mean, because we're not a mandated service. It's not like with the police department or the fire department. So when there are cuts, sometimes they say, oh, they're not mandated services. But what we provide are meaningful services. And whether legally mandated or not, I think we make a difference in the lives of young people and families throughout the city. So again, I want to thank everyone for being part of the CAB, and if there are questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions for the Commissioner at this time? It's in the packet. The youth leadership for May 12th, is that in the packet?
Yeah. In fact, there's too much in the packet.
So the youth leadership program he's talking about that's taking place at John Jay College on the 12th should be in your packet if you need any more information on that. Any other questions for the Commissioner? Okay, Commissioner, I really do appreciate you coming. It means a lot for you to come and address the board here. I'll entertain a motion now to accept the Commissioner's report.
So moved.
The properly moved by Joseph Pierre.
Second.
Second, I didn't hear you. Just state your name. Seconded by David Alexander. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstaining, there being none, so moved. Thank you again, Commissioner. So the Commissioner referenced this, and we should all be proud of it, the single audit report. And I have a statement to read for the record regarding the report, and a copy of that report also should be in your packet, and that was sent out as well. And it reads, the City of New York single audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017 has been completed. Notice of the audit was emailed to DYCD by the auditors in the city, and the audit itself was sent to the state. You have received excerpts of those emails and the report itself tonight when you signed in. And that's the packet that you signed for. The entire citywide report, which is 238 pages long, nice reading for all of you, and show report, it is here if anyone wants to take a look. So that's, again, in your packet. The key statement here, the audit contained no findings or question course necessitating a response by DYCD. Accordingly, DYCD was not required to provide a response or correct a plan involving CSBG funds. This report to the CAB serves to satisfy two of the national standards in the upcoming New York State Department of State Audit. So that's the statement. That really deserves another round of applause for just the tremendous work that you do as the CAB, and the tremendous work that the staff here at DYCD does. And I will reiterate a comment that the commissioner made. If you remember, 2 meetings ago, representatives from the Department of State was present here at the meeting. I was able to have a short dialogue with them after the meeting, and they emailed me, copied the deputy commissioner as well, just to say how impressed they were with the running of the meetings. When we do what we do here and have the meetings, you know, maybe sometimes because we're not involved in how other meetings are run in other municipalities and cities, we may take for granted what we do, but they've never seen the engagement and the work of this community action board than what they've seen here at the last meeting. So again, thank you for your hard work. It just shows what can be done. The one thing about being perfect is, you know, it's tough to continue to be perfect, right?
Where do you go from there, right?
So the bar has been set, so all I can say is let's just continue to do what we need to do to be consistent with that. But thank you all again for that. Next up, I'm going to have artists come in who's going to go over our financial and program quarterly report.
Good evening. Yeah. My name is Artis Sandoval. I'm the Senior Budget Director here at the NYCD, with responsibility.
Artists, I'm not sure if your mic is on. Oh, yeah, just probably got to bring it a little closer.
Sorry. Yes. My name is Artis Sandoval. I'm a Senior Budget Director with responsibility for the Community Development Division. And I'm going to do the financial report tonight. I think you all have the financial report in your packet, but we'll soon have it up on the screen. For the benefit of the new member tonight, I'll just go over the entire portfolio. DYCD is spending $33.5 million of CSBG funds in the city fiscal year 18. We have allocated 80% of those funds to program contracts over 7 areas. We have the neighborhood development group programs, which is actually broken down into 7 smaller program areas. The Immigration Refugee Assistance Program, HRA Legal Services Intra-City, the NICALI, or the Adult Literacy Program. We have a Fatherhood Initiative, Adult Literacy, and Summer Youth Employment Programs. We allocate about $27 million to these programs, which represents 80% of the award. We also spend an additional $6 million on other contractual costs, which support the program contracts. 40% of the award is spent on DYCD personal services. This presentation covers the period of July through February, which is 8 months of the city fiscal year, and that represents about 67% of our award. Right now, we have spending at 53% overall for the program contracts, but we are starting to see the trend that we expect of a lot more invoices are coming in the latter half of the city fiscal year. So if we look at each program area, the NDA group is spending at 48%. The Immigration Refugee Assistance is spending at 31%, and you'll notice that Immigration, Refugee Assistance, and Fatherhood, those are the 2 lowest spending groups. And we have a new RFP this year, so there's been a lot of time of catching up programs, contracts being registered, and it takes a while in the first year of the new RFP for them to get their legs and keep moving, so it's usual for them to see spending a little lower in the first year. The NICALI group is spending at 55%. The Fatherhood, as I mentioned, again, it's at 39%. Adolescent Literacy is at 52%. And SYP is at 96%. And this is it. The reason why SYP is so much higher than the others is because the bulk of the SYP program happens in the first 2 months of the city fiscal year. So in July and August is when our youth are working, and the bulk of the SYP program is spent on wages for young people. So at 96%, the difference is providers are submitting invoices on a monthly basis for the rest of the fiscal year. For other contractual services, the biggest pot of money there is the technical assistance contracts. They're spending only $316,000, but we're pretty confident that they'll meet their usual spending rate of about 98%. Personal services, we're spending at 58%. If we look at comparison to the last meeting, at the last meeting, we had expenditures of $9.1 million, and that represented 34% of their budget for program contracts. As of today, we're spending $14.2 million, and that represents 56%. So we're beginning to see that pattern of a speeding up of spending towards the latter half of the year. Other contractual services, we've more than doubled the spending. We were at 191 in the last meeting 2 months ago, and now we're at $287,000, and that's it's increased by 150%. Personal services is a steady spending rate, and we're at 56% for that. As I said before, this report only covers through February because it's early in the month for this meeting, and our providers are now submitting invoices for the month of March. When we meet again in June, we'll have more information on March and April. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Artis. Does anyone have any questions regarding the financial quarterly report? Again, this is emailed in advance of the meeting for you to review as well, just in case you have questions at the time that the full CAB meeting takes place. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion now to accept the quarterly report. Been properly moved by Linda Walters.
Second by Tamika Robinson.
Seconded by Tamika Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposing? Abstaining, there being none, so moved. Thank you, Artis, for that report. All right, so now we're going to our chairman and executive committee reports. As far as the chairman report, in your packet again is the full strategic plan and report. And if you remember, this is the report that the deputy commissioner and assistant deputy commissioner referenced quite a bit over the last few meetings, and included a lot of the feedback that you had in some of our work sessions and meetings. So the full report is there for your review. And certainly if you have any questions go forward, you can certainly reach out to us and we'll be able to answer your questions. For the members that are not here, present at this meeting, the report will be emailed to them. Okay? All right, so next up we will have our governance committee report by Linda Walters.
Good evening. The committee met on March 26th, and the minutes are in the board meeting package on page 10. With the election of Claudia Koger, Regional 16, Queens NAB 1, 2, and 5, all regional representative seats are filled. However, great. Yes. However, there are 3 regional representatives that will be term limit this year. The 3 NAB chairperson vacancies will be filled by June 2018 meeting. DYCD, I did say it right, okay. Staff will follow up on absentee members and the 1 mayoral appointee vacancy. And that will be all for the governance committee.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Any questions on the report? good to know that vacancies are getting filled. I think this is the most we've aggressively pursued to fill these vacancies, so that's great. Any questions on the Governance Committee report? If not, I'll entertain a motion now to accept the report.
So moved.
It's been moved by David Alexander,
Second.
second by Joseph Pierre. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposing, abstaining, there being none, so moved. Next up, we have Tamika with our Program Committee report.
Hello, everyone. The committee met on March 19th, and the minutes are on page 11. You can look at the slides. They're on page, they start at 12 to 19, I believe. So Mike probably gave a brief overview on the work plan of the NBA programs. He also mentioned that there has been an upgrade of the reporting systems that are in use for the programs. HRA staff gave an overview of CSBG Immigrant Legal Service Program that includes immigrant workers, survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking, and youth. They also talked about the providers and gave a brief overview of their successful outcomes and issues. Sanctuary for Families, which provides legal services for domestic and victims of domestic violence. And The Door, a center for alternatives, who provides legal services for immigrant youth, and also presented on their services, their successes, and discussed a few issues. Assistant Commissioner Bobbitt reported and distributed a schedule of the citywide spring into health fair, which started on April 10th. A schedule of the fair is in your folder. This year, there are about 35 fairs across the 5 boroughs in conjunction with other agencies, and that's up from 6 last year. I just want to take the time to thank Anita and Gian for being excellent at providing assistance to the CAB members. They are very professional, very diligent, very supportive. They always reach out to us to see if we have any needs or concerns. They make sure we're prepared for the meetings. They always give us the updates we need to ensure that we have ease in actually making it to the meetings. So I definitely want to thank Gian and Anita. Also Greg, for being professional and showing us, being new to the to this board in my position, you need guidance and you need support. And Greg sets a great example on, for how you're supposed to compose yourself in a meeting, especially of this level. And I definitely appreciate it. I just want to say thank you to the staff. Also Mike Bobbitt, who gives excellent reports. They're thorough. He's always there to answer questions. So it's been an honor to be on the board so far. I look forward to making stronger impacts, contributing to the staff, new ideas and concerns, and I hope that we all could have a stronger board if we all work together, share ideas and concerns, and just be respectful when we do that. This is a board that could have a strong impact on our community, and we have to recognize our strengths as well as our weaknesses so we can work past it. I'm so happy that when we were, the report reflected that there was a result of, I think 100% you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the success levels for the way that the state gauges us to see how effective we are. So I'm happy to know that I was actually a part of that along with everyone else out here in the audience. It makes me feel proud, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamika, I appreciate that. Any questions regarding her report? I promise you, I didn't pay her to say anything.
We move that.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Joseph Pierre,
Second.
second by Linda Walters. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstaining, there being none, so moved. And our last report will be our strategic partnership report for Mariella.
So the minutes that you have in your packet aren't actually the minutes from our last meeting, so we'll be sending those around and then we'll approve them at the next meeting, but I will just give you some highlights of the things we discussed. So you all should have gotten an email from me about 2 weeks ago, and that touched on most of the things that we talked about. So I'm gonna skip around a little bit. We talked about CAB involvement in the NAB Ambassador Project. So we're still trying to administer those surveys. One of our committee members actually discussed how he brought the survey to a food pantry line as people were just standing around waiting, and it was a captive audience, and he was able to administer the survey. So you can be creative. We also talked about recruiting youth to the NABs, and CAB members and NAB members are talking to Compass programs to try to get youth to be more involved in the NAB. SYP I'm going to save until our next presentation, because that's going to be all about SYP. We're still trying to recruit work sites for SYP, so if you have any connections or if you have any work sites that you think might be interested, definitely reach out to us and let us know, and we can put you in touch with, well, you'll meet her in a second. And then the last thing I just want to touch on is recruitment for the NABs. So we still have some vacancies to fill. And I just want to call up Susie from the Queensborough President's Office to talk about ways that she actually recruited.
Take that mic for her.
I don't mind. I'm gonna go here, so thank you. Thanks very much. And I want to give my appreciation to our chairperson as well, because we talked about this at the end of the last meeting, and I asked if I could offer a couple of ideas, and he was very supportive. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes. At our last meeting, I noticed, first of all, I should probably introduce myself properly. Susan Tannenbaum, Director of Integrated and Intercultural Affairs at Borough President Melinda Katz's office. I worked for 12 years for Borough President Helen Marshall, but I wasn't a part of the Community Action Board at that time. I have the privilege of being a part of it now, and I love coming to these meetings, and that's because of everything that Tamika mentioned and all of you. So I remember at the last meeting noticing people kept bringing up, we have to talk to our elected officials, there are too many vacancies, and they're the ones who need to fill those vacancies. And we need to advocate, we need to go to their offices and knock on their doors. And I was sitting there thinking, we've actually been doing this. When I came to the CAB, it was 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, Assemblyman Jeff Aubrey said to me, do you know that Borough President Katz has 7 vacancies to fill? And I said, no, I didn't know that. How do you know that? He said, go to the website. It's all right there. So I looked at the website. And I wrote a memo to the Borough President, and that got the ball rolling. And a couple of things were very helpful, and I wanted to offer them both to the representatives of elected officials' offices here and to everyone. And maybe we can work on this together. One thing that was very helpful was Borough President Katz invited the team, the Department of Youth and Community Development team, to present at her borough cabinet meeting. That's a charter-mandated monthly meeting where, among other people, the district managers of the community boards are present, and we have 14 community boards. So our illustrious Joe Catrambone came with Jorge Mendizabal and made a presentation telling the district managers what the community action boards are, what the neighborhood action boards are. And at that point, the borough president told the district manager she wanted all of them to recommend candidates for the NEDs that she could appoint. A couple of the district managers did that, so that was very useful. In addition, Joe and Jorge know people, know candidates for the NABs, so we worked together. They recommended people that the borough president could appoint. So then a coworker of mine and I interviewed all of these people. We interviewed them either in person or over the telephone. And I would ask 3 questions. One is, what is your community involvement? Tell me your background. What is your motivation for joining your NAB? And what is your availability? And I talked to them about what the commitment would be. So at this point, out of those 7 vacancies that Assemblyman Aubrey told me about, 6 of them now have very viable candidates in them. We have 1 vacancy left, and we're going to fill it. So we're very happy about that. And I want to mention 2 things that came up that you might want to be aware of. One is, does the candidate live in the NDA, in the neighborhood development area that the NAB is a part of? Because we had a couple of candidates who were very eager to be on their NAB, but it turned out they lived right on the border, on the other side of the NDA. And we talked to Jorge, and we told him, no, this person lives in their NDA, and he checked, and he told us, no, unfortunately, they don't. So this is something to keep in mind when you talk to the candidates. You know, make them aware, we might need to double check just where they live to know that they are eligible. And the other question or thing to consider is, what if the candidate, because borough president can't really want young people to be on their NAB. So we even talked to like high school seniors, and one of our NAB representatives now is a high school senior. Now the commitment is 3 years, but that young lady, that young woman may be leaving New York next year. So the question was, could we have her join the NAB? And we were told that yes, it's not a problem. So if you know a young person who wants to make a commitment for 1 year, 2 years, let them do it. It's a good match. They can contribute and they will learn. And we will develop leadership that way. So that's what I wanted to offer. If anyone has any comments or questions, I'm happy to talk to you about it, or we can talk about it later.
Thank you. So now I hope you all are inspired now to go ahead and do some recruiting. That's all for me.
Thank you, Ariel. And another hand for Susan Tannenbaum. I love setting bars, because the bar has been set even for this. It just shows that there's a blueprint for how we should fill these vacancies. And as she indicated, her and I had a very lengthy conversation at the end of last meeting regarding that. And also, she has shown myself a couple of meetings ago. We've talked about that in terms of vacancies. A couple of you, we've also had that conversation. So it's good to know that we all are concerned and want to do what's right to fill those vacancies, and obviously the blueprint is there. So I appreciate that. Susan, thanks for sharing that information. And Ariel, thank you for your report. Again, we can't vote on that committee report because the minutes are not accurate in your folder, but we will circle back at the next meeting to vote on that report. With that said, okay, got it, no problem. No,
Okay, so I want to introduce Dalcy Andrade, who is involved with the Ladders for Leaders SYP program. And as we mentioned before, we're still recruiting, so it would be great to listen to her and maybe something will resonate with you and you'll get some ideas about sites that be a participant in this program.
Thank you so much. Well, we get the presentation up. Hi, everyone. My name is Dulcie Andrade. I'm the Director of Employer Engagement and Partnerships here at DYCA for the Youth Workforce Development Portfolio. And I'm actually really excited to be here because I get to speak on two amazing programs, one of which falls under the SYEP umbrella. So it's the Summer Youth Employment Program, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are already familiar with. How many folks actually have gone through the SYEP program in the past? Okay, we got a few, okay. Great, and also speaking on the Ladders for Leaders program, and I will talk through all of the programs today, and I really want to focus on this being a call to action for everyone on the board to really tap into your own workplaces. If there are any business owners in the room, tapping into your businesses, and also tapping into your networks. We all know someone, and I'm sure a lot of those people may need young people to help intern within their companies or their organizations. So that's really the call to action to everyone, and I am here to answer any questions you have. And I believe in the packet there are brochures. There's one for Ladders and one for SYEP. If you turn the Ladders for Leaders brochure around, my contact information is there. Oh, perfect. No, so you can feel free to reach out to me directly if you ever have any questions. And also for the rest of the team here, especially Anita, just in case you have any employer partners that are interested in participating with either program. Just to give everyone a heads up, the participant application deadlines have already passed, so that has wrapped up, but there's still time for different employer partners to definitely participate in both programs. So one thing I always say when I'm talking about both of the programs is that the young people are out there. We receive thousands upon thousands of applications of young people that are interested in summer work opportunities. But where we need the help is increasing the number of employers that are able to provide these opportunities and employers that are willing to go above. So not just, having a young person as a body in the room, but really being able to mentor and guide that young person and really introduce them to potentially a new career that they might be in for the long haul, or sometimes introducing them to something that they don't really like, which is also very important as well as these young people are growing up and deciding on their next steps. So I won't go through too much here because I'm sure folks already know, but the Summer Youth Employment Program has been with the city for a very, very long time, going back to the 1960s. It serves young adults ages 14 to 24. And as you'll see, the New York State minimum wage has gone up. So through the program, the young people are getting paid $13 an hour, and they work 25 hours a week for 6 weeks. The great thing about SYEP is that candidates, all they have to do is meet the age requirement and also be a New York City resident in order to potentially participate in the program. And all the students go through a lottery process. And if they are selected, they are guaranteed a summer work opportunity. In thinking about different employers, whether you're the employer or you're reaching out to your network, some of the benefits for SYEP are the first, which is it's no cost to the business or to the organization. So the city subsidizes the young person's salary for the 6 weeks at 25 hours a week. So that's a really great sell for a lot of the employer partners that we're working with. Also, let's talk about young people for a second. Extremely smart, extremely tech savvy. If there are any social media requests and things of that nature, our young people are definitely well aware of all of those social media platforms. And a lot of these people are extremely motivated. They're really hungry to be able to work in the summer and be able to also add new experiences onto their resumes. So a really huge benefit in getting some of those young people into your organizations or companies and having them share new ideas that they can potentially contribute to any projects or initiatives that your organization has. In addition to that, sometimes you don't think about this part, but if you are an employer partner or there's someone in your network, it's a great opportunity for entry-level staff to be able to supervise the young person. So then that staff person can build up their skills, as well as they're working through their positions. So all to say, it's a really amazing program. I'm sure everyone already knows, and I will go to the next slide. Here are just some stats for this past summer. As you can see, thousands of participants in the program, so close to 70,000 received summer internships. We receive a lot of applications, as you can see. We'll touch on Ladders for Leaders in a second. But all to say, it has been a very successful program. Every single year, it continues to grow. And as you can see, we do focus on vulnerable youth as well. So we're looking to increase those numbers. And then that last 45%, we are always looking to increase private sector opportunities. So for a lot of the work sites for SYEP, we get nonprofit organizations, daycare centers, things of that nature. So we're always looking to bump up the number of private sector opportunities, and especially for your communities, if there are small business, medium-sized businesses, and they may need an intern for the summer, it's definitely great if you guys can direct them our way so they can apply and become a work site. We went through some of the benefits, but it's really thinking about our future workforce. These are young people who are aging very quickly, and soon they will be professionals in the field. So it's a great way to get a pipeline for different companies that are interested. Again, the management opportunities, no cost. So 6 weeks, 25 hours a week, you get a young person, and again, the fresh perspectives. So I'll go ahead and jump into Ladders for Leaders. Again, Ladders for Leaders falls under the SYEP umbrella, but it runs differently. So Ladders for Leaders is our competitive summer internship program open to young adults ages 16 to 22. In order to get into the program, students must meet certain criteria, which include having a 3.0 GPA or higher. So all the students are high achieving academically. They're also coming into the program with prior work experiences as well. So for a lot of the Ladders candidates, it's not their first job opportunity, but they're looking to really build their resumes and gain some skills. And also they complete up to 30 hours of pre-employment training with us, which is a really amazing opportunity because we do have a very robust curriculum. So it ranges from updating the resume, writing an effective cover letter, to what does business and workplace etiquette mean. So they're working with us. We're really learning about their career interests and where they're hoping to be in the near future. And then from there, where we are connecting them to professional work opportunities, whether that's in private companies, nonprofit organizations, or within our city agencies as well. Just some stats on Ladders. As you can see, it's much smaller than SYEP, so we placed a little over 1,800. This past summer, we received close to 8,000 applications. We worked with over 500 work sites, and all to say, it's been a really positive experience, not only for the students, but also for the employer partners that we work with. And we do have a lot of employers that are coming back to work with us. But as you can see, that discrepancy between the number of participants placed and the number of applications, we always are looking to increase the number of students that we can connect to jobs. And very similar to SYEP, all the students are trained, they're outstanding, they're really coming in with some great work experiences. And even if you do have an employer partner, or you as an employer have a technical role that you need to fill, we have many students that have amazing skills, again, in serving older high school into all 4 years of college. Here are just some employer highlights, just to give you a sense of some of the industries and companies that we have worked with. And let's talk about how you all can help support, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. So first, it's really asking you all to really take a look inside your respective organizations, the companies that you're working for, or if you are business owners, taking a look at some of the needs that you might have to host a young person within your companies. So it's really just getting the word out there and making sure we are meeting the needs that not only students have, but also employers have within their work sites. I know I already mentioned this part, but really engaging your networks. Like I said before, we all know someone who's working at X company, who knows someone at this place. One thing I always say is that while people or adults are competing for jobs, young people are always competing for internships as well. And let me tell you, it is tough out there because young people are willing to move to New York from around the nation and around the world in order to be able to live and say that they're working in New York City in an internship opportunity. So again, really tapping your networks is going to be really important. If you need copies of the brochure, I know there are some in the packets today, but feel free to let me know. And I'll get that to Anita and then she can get it out to you guys. And also another way that I'll put out there is through our training opportunities with the young people. If anyone ever wants to volunteer to do like mock interviews with young people, just to walk them through a position and you know how to answer some of the tough interview questions because all of us have already been there. This is definitely a way that you all can assist as well. Kind of more of the in-kind services type of support there. I've said a lot, so I'm actually going to pause and see if there are any questions. And that was actually the end of the presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, first of all, I have lots of questions.
Okay.
You went through
Victoria.
Victoria Camarada Crudo, and I'm with NAB 11, 13, 15. I wanted you to compare the Summer Youth Employment Program seems to be up to age 22,
So
24.
14
And the other one is 22.
16 to 22.
Okay, is the one that you just mentioned, the New York City Ladders for Leaders, is it more prestigious? Are you looking for, like what I saw there, Coach Bad Fashion and you know, Newberger Berman, so it seems like you're looking to get higher end companies, because if I would go to my neighborhood, I'm sure there are lots of bakeries or little shops that could use someone, a nice teenager, to come in and help. But it's matching that, so I kind of wanted you to compare and contrast the two programs a little bit more.
Yeah, and I actually have a document that literally outlines the differences between both programs. I would not say that Ladders is prestigious or, you know, more prestigious than SYP. They're basically pretty much the same program. What we do focus on with Ladders, it's less about your first job. So that's the first thing. So for a lot of SYP candidates, especially the younger youth, 14, 15, 16, 17, for a lot of our young people where they're really looking to gain their first work experience, they would go through the SYP program. Because we have the criteria for Ladders, they must come in with prior work experience. And we do accept volunteer work opportunities as well, or unpaid work opportunities for the Ladders program. Another distinction is that for SYP, it does focus on skilled and unskilled work opportunities because of the range of young people that we're working with. So for both SYP and Ladders, it's really about meeting a young person where they are. So if it's a young college student that has a 4.0 GPA, they can apply to SYP and get an amazing private sector position if that's what they're looking for, or a nonprofit. Or if it's a college student with a 4.0 and they want to go through Ladders for Leaders and be able to work at some of the, finance companies that we're working with. So I would say it's all the same. It's not a huge distinction. The biggest one is the skilled versus unskilled. Ladders, we focus specifically on professional work opportunities. And I did highlight our large corporate partners, but we have small, medium-sized business, nonprofit organizations, and a lot of city agency opportunities as well.
So to follow up, mom and pop stores in my neighborhood need
Yes.
these young students or
Yes.
young workers. But how can we convince them if they, let's say we wanted to have them work in a restaurant,
Yep.
are these young workers going, if they have an accident, or something, are the employers liable?
Yeah.
Like that's always something that people will say, well, what
I
about
get that
insurance? What if
question
something
all the
should
time.
happen to them and what happens?
Yeah, so one big distinction that I feel like I didn't make clear while I was going through Ladders, for Ladders we do focus on employer-paid opportunities. So I just want to mention that, whereas SYP is completely subsidized by the city. Sometimes for ladders, we do have extra funding where we can subsidize, but I'll to say that pocket of money is a little bit more limited. But if you do have any employer partners that, are really interested in ladders, we can potentially have that conversation. So that's another huge distinction. In regards to liability, if it is a subsidized position, that young person is technically an employee of the city. So they are being paid by the city and they are covered by the city. Now, if it is an employer-paid opportunity, then the employer is responsible for anything that might happen on the job.
Thank you very much.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions?
You mentioned, my name is David Alexander, I'm Community Board, Community Board, Region 13. You mentioned vulnerable youth, can you explain that?
Oh,
Because I was gonna ask,
yeah.
had I not seen it, I would have asked the question.
I will answer your question, but I'm not as well versed on all the different and amazing things that are going on with our vulnerable youth population. But all to say, there is an initiative really focusing on young people who may be homeless or coming out of foster care. So that's what we mean when we say vulnerable youth. And we do have an initiative to get as many vulnerable youth into summer internship opportunities as possible. So we're working with different CBOs that actually have that focus, even within their contracts, to serve vulnerable youth and get them into different work opportunities. But on a very just broad level, that's the Vulnerable Youth Initiative. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Anita and I'll get you more details. I just don't want to say something because I'm not well versed on all the things happening on that side. Any other questions? I guess I have a question for everyone. Do you need anything more than the brochures in order to engage some of the folks that might be in your community, in your network? Or do you feel like you guys already have these strong relationships, it's just a matter of kind of putting the word out there? Anyone?
So I'll say one thing.
Sure.
At Modell's, we do participate, everyone knows we have a
Yes.
strong partnership.
Yes.
With SYEP. 2 years ago, I expanded it to every single store in the tri-state area and the distribution center. And then I have expectations above that at least somewhere between 8 and 9% of that workforce should be hired for permanent positions if they're available. But I think the employers, whether it's private or public sectors that participate in this, can be your voice if you're trying to convince other private and public sector companies to be a part of it. So we can be a form of testimony if there are questions about how effective this program can be. I did a campaign on my LinkedIn page, on my Facebook page as well, to engage employers and so forth. So I think what Dulcie said in terms of engaging networks is probably right now the most important aspect of this program. There's no shortage of youth that are applying to be a part of SYEP. So we can erase that. It's not going to be a shortage, unfortunately. The great thing is a lot of them want to work. The tough thing is not every one of them are going to have the opportunity to work. So we need more employer partners. We need more companies to be a part of this. And Vicki, I love your questions. To answer your question, mom and pop stores, 1, 2, or 3 employee companies all the way up to 5,000, 10,000 employee companies, doesn't matter. If it's a job, if it's an employer, if it can provide a real work-life experience for this youth, those are the type of companies we are looking to be a part of this. So if anyone has any additional questions or need any other support to try and talk to these employers, now's the time to do so. The program starts in July. All the preparation and legwork is kind of taking place now. We're already in April. Before you know it, June will be here, kids will be out of school, and we'll be scrambling to really kind of finalize these employer partnerships. So if you really could spend the next few weeks to really kind of engage employers and talk to people about the importance of it, now would be the time to do so.
Yeah, and I'll just add two things there. I think what you said is really important. For the small businesses, they provide even more responsibility for a young person. So we are very, very much open to any small businesses within your communities that may be interested in getting a young person for the summer. And also, speaking of success stories, I definitely encourage everyone to go onto the DYCD website. We actually did a spotlight of several students coming from our programs. So there's quotes from them. I'm giving you kind of the basic information, but a lot of this is really about the young people and how they talk about their experience, and employers and how they talk about the benefits of the program. So feel free to go onto the website and you'll get more information, and feel free to direct folks there too. And if you do have anyone interested, feel free to either direct them to me. Again, my information is in the back of the Ladders for Leaders brochure, and I will address both Ladders and SYP, whichever program the company is interested in, and I'll stop talking.
Thank you, great information. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll say I appreciate it, thank you. And thank you, Ariel, for you're doing to really highlight a lot of these programs as well. And to the rest of the committee members, thank you for your hard work. Old business, any old business that we need to discuss at this point? No? Okay. New business, again, the commissioner talked about it. Please look in your packet. We have the Spring into Health activities that are going to be taking place over the next few weeks. The other DYCD activities. I made a note of the May 12th event that the commissioner spoke about at John Jay College. I don't know if that's in the packet. I know we were looking for, did anyone see that in the packet? It is?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a list of activities.
Oh, it's part of the list of activities? Okay. Is there instructions on how to register and stuff on that? Or?
No, it just has the date and the place.
Okay, so a couple of people are asking about that. Thank you, Victoria. So we're going to get information on how to register for that event, because a couple of people are definitely interested in that. Any other new business we should discuss? And where is Joe C? Joe C. Joe C, step to the front, please. Well, in the middle, the front. Joe Cantrabone doesn't like fanfare, doesn't like to be highlighted, doesn't really like the limelight, but this is an important stage in his life as he's retiring. On a personal note, so for the many years I've been on the CAB, Joe has been the one that really has brought me along in terms of how I can contribute to this board, especially me being a private sector member. And then when I was elected chair, he really was supportive in making sure I had all the right tools to try to be an effective board president. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes at DYCD. I mean, just, you know, these guys come, they look sharp in their suits and everything, but you know what? They are sweating it out behind the scenes, night and day, dealing with a whole lot, you know, to just make sure that everything that we're focusing on in terms of community development is being done. And Joe is one of those guys that just consistently does it, and is just, you know, I can't say enough really about how effective he is at his job. And when he told me he was approaching retirement, I wasn't happy. I know I was selfish, but I wasn't happy because I really enjoy working with him, and I really enjoy his partnership. But he deserves this. He's, you know, just a great community-minded individual, easy to talk to, and really cares about his job. And I want to first of all congratulate you on behalf of the CAB, on behalf of all the community members, for all that you've done. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. I can't imagine, because you've been here the entire time I've been involved with the CAB, so I can't imagine really being a part of this without you, but I wish you all the best in your retirement. Certainly keep in touch, and, you know, congratulations. Please, let's just give him a standing ovation for all the hard work that he's done. the things he's doing for retirement. And it started with drinking wine. But all the best, Joe.
Thank you very much.
With that said, everyone knows Jermaine. Jermaine works with DYCD. Jermaine, you've been with DYCD how long now?
13 years.
13 years. Started as a young intern. And now is elevated to various positions. I'm sorry, I know you told me, you're recently promoted to what's your title?
Director of Digital Strategies.
Alright, so he's a big boy now. But I met Jermaine a few years ago when he was involved with social media for DYCD, and him and I worked together. He ran the toy distribution program. The name escapes me, but the toy drive program that DYCD does. He was the one that was instrumental in running that, and that was a huge undertaking. So proud of your accomplishments as well. And to the rest of the DYCD members, thank you for everything that you've done. With that said, I'll entertain a motion now to adjourn the meeting. Ms. Patel moved. Linda Walker seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, abstentions. Have a good evening, everyone.